Well, as folks crowd beaches across the country this Memorial Day, staying safe is just as important as having fun. One of the dangers to be on the lookout for while hanging out along the seaside is rip currents.
Yeah, and rip currents are powerful. They're narrow channels of really fast-moving water that are prevalent not only along the East Coast, Gulf of Mexico, and the West Coast of the country, but speaking from experience, the Great Lakes see some pretty intense rip currents as well. Last year, unfortunately, there were 91 rip current deaths in the United States.
Yeah, and joining us now is the national spokesperson for the American Lifeguard Association. We have Wyatt Werneth joining us. And Wyatt, you know, it was just last week the Coast Guard confirmed the death of a 14-year-old girl swept away by a rip current off the Texas coast. And she was with a younger girl who fortunately so was rescued. But knowing this and the dangers and the tragedy that can ensue during the season, what is the messaging you want people to know?
It's tragic, but let's start out with good morning. And this is a special week for us, Memorial Day. The beach is open, as well as the conclusion of Beach Safety Week. And also, we want you guys to have a meaningful Memorial Day. Rip currents are the worst. We actually had 14 drownings here on this beach last year. So it's something that we want you to know before you go. Check the Fox weather station and find out what the weather's going to be like. The rip currents are the most strongest when the tide is going out and the wind is blowing onshore. So you want to look for that. The most important thing to look for is find out where the lifeguards are and swim in front of a lifeguard. Your chance of drowning in front of a lifeguard are 1 in 18 million.
Wow, that's significant. I didn't realize that. That's a great stat to know. And, you know, one thing that you mentioned, Wyatt, was, know before you go. So what are some of those safety tips that we should know before we go to the beach this weekend?
Well, know before you go covers many things, but the rip current factor of it is if you can watch the weather patterns, you know, drowning can be prevented. It's kind of like if you know what the conditions are and what to look for. Here on this beach, it starts on the beach. Everywhere there's a dip, there's a rip. But if you know that, then you know not to set up your family in front of that rip. But also, again, let's go back to swim in front of a lifeguard. They're going to put up signs and keep you from getting into those areas. We also want you to assign a water watcher. Let's even go further than that. Know how to swim. Learn to swim, America.
Yeah, and you know, you do get people out at these beaches. I know you're over at Cocoa Beach on a beautiful day, but you get people, they're not so familiar, right? Maybe they don't live near an ocean, or even as Michael talked about the Great Lakes, even in those lakes you can get some rip currents. So when you talk about people acclimating themselves, what is, I guess, if they do get caught in it and they're not used to this sort of thing, what are some of the quick bullet points that they should remember if they're in the water and they feel themselves getting pulled away by a rip current?
That's great. Thanks for asking that. You know, if you know how to swim, it's really not that bad. It's just basically a current that pulls you away from the beach. It doesn't take you under like people have told me when I was growing up. No, it just takes you out, and if you know how to swim, you just stay calm. And if you don't panic, all you got to do is kind of ride it out, find your way left or right, parallel, get to the high ground. Because what a rip current is a deeper area where there's two sandbars. You're having fun on the sandbar, you step into the rip, the current pulls you out. All you have to do is relax and go north or south. But if you do find yourself exhausted and can't make it back, yell for help, and hopefully that someone on the beach can bring a flotation device like something that we have here behind us that our city and our Rotary Club put up to help people when there are no lifeguards around. But if you can get some help, you're gonna be all right. You're gonna be fine as long as you don't panic and you get flotation. Flotation is key.
Yeah, and you know what? You are just a wealth of information. Again, where there's a dip, there is a rip. A lot to keep in mind here, especially today with a lot of beaches and pools opening today. Wyatt, thank you so much with the American Lifeguard Association for all of your insight. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a safe summer, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, you too. Look at the sky. It's beautiful at Cocoa Beach.